Happy Friday from Gillette Stadium, and it's Friday, so you know what that means. Key matchups, Patriots Vikings, where the one-on-one battles we'll be keeping an eye on come Sunday. This video is brought to you by Action Heat. You've got to check them out for all of your winter needs. Whether it's at a Pats game in January or shoveling out of a blizzard, they've got heated jackets, vests, gloves, socks, everything you could need at actionheat.com. And if you use our coupon code NEWSFEED at checkout, you will save 20% off of your order. Again, that's actionheat.com. All right, Evan, matchups all over the field this week.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Injuries kind of making things interesting. You got to pick and choose certain spots. Where are you looking?
Well, I wanted to go with Josh Gordon versus Xavier Rhodes,
right,
but we're not sure if Xavier Rhodes is going to play, so I'm going to give you guys another one. And I'm going to go specifically with Marcus Cannon versus Daniel Hunter, but I also really like the matchup on the other side with Trent Brown and Everson Griffin. But a crazy Marcus Cannon stat, in 8 games this season, he has yet to allow a sack in pass protection.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, which is pretty good. So Daniel Hunter is a guy that racked up a lot of sacks last year, certainly, has gotten a lot of pressure again this year. They signed him to a huge contract in the offseason. And on the other side, against Trent Brown, you have Everson Griffin, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league, rushing against him. And really what I've seen from both of those guys, Marcus Cannon and Trent Brown, has been both playing at a very high level this year, but both those pass rushers are very good too. So kind of a strength-on-strength matchup. And usually I go in the trenches, in the interior of the offensive and defensive lines. But this week I really feel like that pressure is going to come from the edges with guys like Linval Joseph rushing up the middle. Not exactly a pass rusher. I know they have Sheldon Richardson, but I'm not as
when you
scared
mention
as
that,
those
I think
guys.
Against the run too, setting the edge is going to be so crucial, and being able to get the ball to the outside, whether it's James White, Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, those guys are going to have a good game run blocking too.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And those guys, Daniel Hunter and Everson Griffin, are in 2 of the guys that are in probably peak physical condition compared to maybe anybody else in the league, and they're 2 very strong, very well-built dudes that are tough to move in the running game as well.
And so as usual, I'm going to go on the other side of the ball, and you know, when I look at this matchup, I think back to Patriots Chiefs, just because this is probably the best offense the Patriots have played since then. And it's constructed in sort of a similar way where a lot of the strength is on the outside. So you have multiple great receivers, and you know, I could talk about Stephon Diggs, I could talk about Adam Thielen. The Patriots, at least you're going to try to take those guys away, right? I think that they're going to leave Kyle Rudolph opportunities in this game. At least, you know, not leave him wide open, but if the Vikings want to win this game, they're going to have to win it through Kyle Rudolph. So I'm looking at him versus Patrick Chung and, to a lesser extent, Obi Melifonwu. He's a guy that can match up with tight ends, but I think mostly Chung. If Chung can take Rudolph away and force the Vikings to look down the field into what will probably be double coverage, right, on Diggs and Thielen, and force Cousins to make those throws. I mean, that's what the Patriots did against the Chiefs. And say what you will, they allowed a lot of points, but they ultimately won that game. The defense made the stops when needed. I'm not saying Patrick Chung has to lock down Kyle Rudolph, but at the points in the game, right, when you get to like the 3rd and 5s, right, or in the 4th quarter when they need to pick up yards, maybe they're driving down the field for a field goal, that's where Patrick Chung has to step up and take Kyle Rudolph away and either force Kirk Cousins into checkdowns or to force the ball down the field in double coverage. Chung's been a lot better in coverage recently. I mean, his 2nd stint with the Patriots is miles beyond what it was with the first. They could use a huge game from him on Sunday matched up with Kyle Rudolph. And again, Obi Melifonwu, I could see him factoring in, maybe giving Chung a breather at times, covering Rudolph as well.
Yeah, I think the Patriots have had trouble in general. I know the Patriots have had trouble in general covering tight ends this season. And this game kind of reminds me, in a lesser degree, but certainly in a similar aspect to the Chicago Bears game, where they had Trey Burton, who really led up the Patriots in that game, but they kind of lived with it, you know, because they were really trying to limit the big plays to the receivers on the outside, Allen Robinson, the other guys, like Taylor Gabriel, those types of guys. That was kind of the game plan, was to limit those chunk plays in the passing game to the outside receivers, very similar to this game plan. You check out my Patriots game plan on CLNSmedia.com. I talked about how the Patriots are probably going to use 3 to 4 guys to be responsible for Diggs and Thielen with bracket coverages and stuff like that. That's going to leave a ton of one-on-one matchups for Patrick Chung or Obi Melifonwu or someone against Kyle Rudolph in the middle of the field. I think the Patriots are kind of just going to live with whatever whatever production Kyle Rudolph has and just try to take away the big plays from the other guys.
Right, but and again, however much Chung can take away from that, right? He didn't have a great game against Chicago. We know that.
Yeah.
If he can have a better game this week, it will look similar. A lot of these NFC North teams are built similar.
Sure.
So imagine that Chicago game with Chung having a better day. There is one more point I want to make, and we talked about this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore, not necessarily a true matchup for either of these guys, Thielen or Diggs. I wonder if Rudolph becomes enough of a problem if maybe 5 to 10 snaps we see Gilmore with a little tight end coverage, but not something I think we see a lot of.
No, I think that the main thing for Rudolph, and listen, I think Rudolph is a good player. I just don't think that he's a special player.
And I don't either, but again, I think the same about Trey Burton. And we saw what he did.
Yeah, I could see that, but I think Trey Burton is a little bit better of a receiver. Okay. Rudolph is a very good blocker. He's more of an all-around tight end, whereas I think Trey Burton is more of like a big receiver in today's NFL. So I think Rudolph is one of those guys where, he's good in the red zone. He can definitely catch contested catches over the middle, but I don't think that he's going to kill the Patriots, and I don't think that he's going to kill Chung. I think that mainly, like I said, they're going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities with those guys, with Aldrick Robinson, the third receiver that plays a lot, Delvin Cook certainly out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Those are going to be the guys that are going to have to win this game for Minnesota, and that's, in turn, a lot of one-on-one matchups for the Patriots linebackers and safeties against those guys as well.
Do we miss any key matchups? Let us know in the comments down below or on Twitter at Patriots CLNS. This key matchups video has been brought to you by Action Heat. Check them out at actionheat.com and use the promo code NEWSFEED for 20% off. From Gillette Stadium, he's Evan Lazar. I'm Alex Barth for CLNS.